Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. And we got another week of college football in the books, Schlegs. Week 5 is down. The best part about being 4-0, well, that's a chance to go 5-0 as the Buckeyes downed Michigan State 38-7. A lot of other things happening around the world of college football, too. And we'll kind of smatter around and get a little taste of some of the things that went around through college football. I'm going to focus heavily on this Ohio State Michigan State game to start out with. Should have our guy Lathan Ransom on joining the show, Schlegs. So he'll break down the performance of what went on, what was going on at Sparty, the environment, the turnovers they created, had a couple of drives that they let happen. Kind of your off-the-top thoughts of that game on Saturday night in East Lansing.
Off the top thoughts, like off the top rope, just out the jump,
Yeah,
Bob?
why not?
No, just how was your weekend? How, the fluffingness, like no fluffering of me, just off the top ropes. Here we go. I'll start with the negatives as far as what people talked about. And we obviously talk about them, Bob, because we are defensive guys, but people's opinions are so skewed. We live in a world where we expect perfection. And again, the standard is the standard. And that's part of that is us as a team. Like, we want to be perfect, but you're never going to play perfect football. That's always the end goal, perfection. It's not going to happen. So giving up passes of 24, 25, 26, 19, not really good. You had one run over 19, but then that's it, right? You gave up 3 points in the entire first half. You got the ball out. You made the stops when you had to. So defensively, that was a negative, but I thought they played very well. They only gave up 60 yards in the second half, 30 of which was on the last drive, or the second to last drive, when predominantly in that fourth quarter, it was all the backups were playing significantly. But here's the thing that really opened my eyes and that I took away from this is the physicality of our skill position on the offensive side of the ball. Yeah. When you see Trey, and it's not just a one-off, just multiple games in pass pro, and then you see a star potential first, second round draft pick wide receiver come over and just absolutely pancake a starting Mike linebacker. That's the physicality that you want. And Ryan Day has said this. He's like, when they turn on the tape, they see the hardest playing team in college football. I think our guys play extremely hard and extremely physical. And that's what jumped out to me as I'm watching it. Seeing Seth get to the second level and just bully dudes back 10 yards off the ball. That's what you want to see. That's what I took away from it.
All right, so that's good. We'll start with some of the positives there. Jumping off the page, like you said, Trey on the touchdown to J.J. Smith does a great job. Devin Brown's in. You see Trey slide around, boom, pop the linebacker or safety coming through. You see Devin reset, eyes holds the safety, gets to the right side, throws a pretty nice ball. I mean,
really good ball.
The coverage was pretty good, about as good as you're going to get. Could have been a little closer. Yeah, he makes a great one-handed play, but it was a well-thrown ball where only his guy could get it. But the block by Trey, I think, maybe goes unnoticed a little bit. Then Emeka pulling around. This is one of the things that we've talked about this for a number of weeks now, Schlegs, in this Chip Kelly offense, how they pull wide receivers and get them involved. And so some people think, they're pulling around to block a safety, block a corner. They pulled him through, and you're blocking the starting middle linebacker for the Michigan State Spartans, and he puts a helmet on him and knocks him straight to the ground. And Schlegs, that dude is tough because he doesn't even wear gloves. When you're a guy like that, old school, I think it was, Cal Halliday, the middle linebacker, number 27, no gloves, no wristbands, no wrist tape. I mean, he's out there looking like me in junior high. Not even me in junior high, probably someone way dorky. I mean, I had a little bit of swag. I at least had a few wristbands that I would throw on there. My man's looking like they just pulled him right off a cardboard cutout from a 1985 video game. So kudos to Emeka doing that. But I think that really speaks of the culture and what they're about. And so then when you have that, everybody focuses on, Emeka, that was also the leading receiver in the game. Now, were there some balls that he'd like to have back? Absolutely. But had a nice touchdown reception, did a pretty good job, did a pretty darn good job with that. And it was very, very impressive with how well that he ultimately blocked as well. Then also we've got Jeremiah Smith. You talk about his, everything he did out there. One of the things I like when we talk about the receivers, because we'll just stay with this, was the fact that they got 𝗟𝗩𝗘 going. Like when you have a lot of mouths to feed, getting 𝗟𝗩𝗘 going early, because you're going to try to get obviously JJ going. You got it, Mecca. And so getting him the ball early into the screen stuff and moving him around, like I really like to see that.
Yeah, 100%. And guys, let me tell you something. Like Carnell's going to have a 100-yard day. Like it's just going to happen. And G. Scott even got a touchdown early.
Yeah.
Like, they're just distributing the ball. They're going to take what you give you. The other thing too, Will Howard standing in the pocket and being able to deliver a ball and just get popped right in the chest. A lot of people will shy away from that. Just tuck in and take a sack. He's able to stand in there. You're seeing the toughness, the resiliency. But to your point, Bob, there are a lot of mouths to feed, right? And you still rush for 185 yards. Was it the day, that Q and Trey wanted on the ground? No, but they did it in a number of other ways. And so you're going to have the ebbs and flow of that, still very balanced. But when guys just make plays, they just make plays. When you have a reverse, it just goes to the house and you have one-handed catches and you're having long passing, plays, like that's going to kind of change the game a little bit.
What, as we go forward, you talked about some of the defense a little bit and maybe a slower start to the defense than we typically want to see. They put together a couple of drives. Now, the only touchdown that was yielded was on a sudden change. So you could argue like you need to handle the sudden change situation better. Gave up 3 pretty decent drives. All were ended either in turnover on downs or by 2 fumbles. Lathan, Mr. Punch Out here, he's going to join us in the next segment. Jordan Hancock stripping one away. So I think Sawyer recovered the one. Like they looked good doing all that, but they did give up 3 drive legs of over 50 yards, I think between 55 and 64. Any concern of that to you? Like when you see some of those drives and teams moving the ball with a couple of those chunk plays?
I'm not really concerned about it. We saw the 3 linebacker set. They're playing base most of the time, Bob, in those situations. Could they play it a little bit tighter? Yeah. Do we want to jump off the rip and just start blitzing people? I don't think you necessarily have to. It's kind of, just seeing what they're giving you. They obviously made the adjustment toward the end of the second quarter and then obviously at halftime, not allowing anything. But, I would say this too. Some things that I want to watch moving forward is just linebackers being able to attack the line of scrimmage. And part of that too, people forget, Aiden Childs can also run the football. So how you think they're going to scheme you up versus how they actually scheme you up kind of plays through that first quarter and a half. And then you really saw the defense settle down and dial in as to what they want to do. But more importantly is, how do you stop a drive? Like, how do you not give up a touchdown and hold them to a field goal? And you do that through causing turnovers. And Jack, like you said, recovered one, Sonny recovered the other one. Our guys are going after the ball. They're making the plays in when they have to. I don't understand a lot of the comments on social media and from the media perspective on it, but I thought they played very, very well. And I like the fact that, Caleb was the defensive player of the game. He plays really fast. Like he just reads and goes. And you see that from a lot of guys. And what we also said, Brian talked about it. You stop the run, you get 4 sacks in this game. So I take it, the summation of it, you saw some young guys be really physical. Gabe Powers had a really nice tackle. See Veli being in there and being physical. I thought overall, good performance. They obviously know it could be better.
Yeah, there's some things that they need to improve. The linebacker play, I think, has been good, been a little uneven at times. The 3 linebacker set. Go ahead.
Cody's 1. No, Cody's 4th and 1, right? Like
Cody's 4th and 1 was great. The jump
amazing.
over the top. I mean, Slags, your vertical isn't high enough to be able to do that.
No.
I've never, and partially give a lot of credit to the defensive line. The tackles they got no push. And so Aiden Childs like looking around like there's nowhere to go. We got stuff. And Cody just Spider-Man jumps over the top, grabs him like a lion eating a gazelle, like face wraps him and pulls him to the ground. And you see everybody else trying to get in there. That was tremendous. And so what's interesting too is, it was mostly those drives were the X gains, because on 3rd down, I went back and looked. I'm like, I don't remember them like getting to like 3rd and 7 and then converting it. Michigan State only 2 of 9 on 3rd down. So you've got them below 33%, which is really good. Anything below 35 is really good defensively. And offensively, I think they were 9 of 17. Like, yeah, maybe 8 of 7. You'd love to be like 10 of 17 or 11. They were above 50%. And so when you have that delta there where you're above 50% on offense, below 33% on defense, like that's a heck of a day. Kudos to them getting it done. Before we get to Lathan, I want to tell you about my friends over at 𝗟𝗟𝗡 Mouthguards. You want to protect what matters most with 𝗟𝗟𝗡, trusted by professional athletes and developed by NHL dentists. That's right, the people with the grills. They're taking care of you. 𝗟𝗟𝗡 Mouthguards are scientifically tested to absorb high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. 𝗟𝗟𝗡 Mouthguards feature 3 layers of advanced protection using patented use of carbon fiber. They're 3D printed to your grill, so they're going to fit phenomenally, protect better, perform better, maximum comfort, clear communication. It's all there for you. So you focus on the game, not on the gear. Don't take chances with your safety. 𝗟sportguards.com/Bobby so you can save 15% on these sweet guards. 𝗟𝗟𝗡 Guards, protect what matters most. Lathan Ransom up next.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like. I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
Welcome back into the program. And as always on Mondays, we are welcomed in by our guy, Lathan Ransom, starting safety for the Ohio State Buckeyes, as they celebrate a 38-7 victory up in East Lansing on Saturday night. Before we get into anything, Lathan, first road game of the season, night game up there. Lansing can be a hostile place to play. Michigan State, I think, is better than what people thought this year. How was that environment that you guys were a part of?
Yeah, I think especially being the first away game, it was a great environment. I think East Lansing brought it. It had a lot of juice, a lot of energy. Stadium was full, man, and it was everything we expected it to be, if not better. So great first experience.
Tell us a little bit about the travel, right? So you guys are going up. You guys fly up. What do you guys do on Friday? How does that Saturday look? Because you're playing at 7:30 on the Peacock. Like, walk everybody through what it is to go on the road in college football.
Yeah, so we leave that Friday, get there and get settled. We'll have a good dinner together, a nice little reflection, and then you'll get a little time off your feet. Some people got homework they got to do. Get a little extra film in, meet with your coaches before, and then like you said, it's a night game, so the night before, get to sleep in a little bit more, which is nice. Wake up, walkthroughs. More meetings, get off our feet again, get to watch some of the games, and then get back, have one more meeting, I think, one more walkthrough, and then, it's go time.
So with the new Big Ten, like you don't go to the same places all the time. Have you been to East Lansing before, Lathan? You played up there?
Yeah, actually, I have played there. I played there twice, so it was nice to go there for my third time, and it was my first time being a night game, and, the first time we played there, it was COVID, so I don't know if you really want to count that one, so but it was an experience.
When you guys were flying, go ahead, Bob.
Oh no, it's just because it's always unique and playing a place at night versus the day, and it seemed like they were pretty up for it. Talk about the difficulty. Obviously, had some pretty good young wideouts, very very talented young quarterback. Just kind of game planning going in. Kind of what was the thought process?
A big part of our game plan, especially for the DBs, was taking away that shot. They have a great job on offense of run to set up the play action shot. And I think we did a good job for the most part, staying on top of everything. There's a lot of plays that they were trying to set up that, led to coverage sacks and, the coverage being good enough for our D-line to really get after them. So I think we did a good job on that. I think one thing we got to come out and do is start faster. I think the last 2 games we haven't started as fast as we wanted to start. In the second half, playing really well, but I think if we want to be as dominant as the defense we want to be, we need to start faster. So I think that's what we need to set up. But for the most part, staying on top of everything, taking them shots was a big part of the game plan. I think that's one thing that we did well.
Absolutely, bro. And tell us a little bit, because, I mean, you're becoming the guy that just knocks the ball out, which is a great, thing to be able to do. How much do you think that impact had when you guys were going through spring ball and then fall camp to now, of making an emphasis, but also working on the drills to be able to do that? Because Jordan knocked one out, you knocked one out. Like, that's been a reoccurring thing because we got to get turnovers.
Yeah, I think, like we said before, going in this offseason, that's one thing our whole defense as a whole needed to improve on. So me personally, I took that to every practice I go into. Attack the ball everywhere I can, constantly punching at the ball, ripping at the ball, tips and overthrows, got to have those. And that's something that I've seen a lot throughout the practices before that I've done a great job at. And it's actually funny, me and my dad talked about it. It's something I wanted to take into the season. So every opportunity I get, if that ball's in the wrong hand, I'm punching at it. If it's loose, I'm punching at it, constantly trying to do that as much as I can because, Coach Walt was just talking about it. Those punch outs and we recover them, those are just as important as interceptions. So if I can't get a chance at an interception, I'm going to try to get it another way.
How you talked about obviously limiting the shots. So they like to get in 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, work some run, play action, take shots over the top. No home run hits this game, which was tremendous. But a couple of explosive gains in the past. As you guys are working through that, like what's kind of the coaching points is you're trying to make sure, like, hey, we don't want to give up the home run, but we also want to make sure we're not giving up those intermediate kind of explosive gains that can keep some drives going.
What's tough about that is just, how it is being a linebacker, being a safety immediately in the run fit. Them hard play action pass, they suck up some of the underneath droppers. So just being more disciplined on that end. And then as far as some of the other explosives, which was tough is we have certain routes, that you scheme up and that you scout going into every week. So almost sometimes as a DB, you're hitting certain routes. And receivers do a great job. I mean, at the end of the day, Michigan State scouting us as well, and they know stuff that they're expecting us to run. So they did a great job, but they set up a certain route that we're expecting and set it up the same way, and they ran a different route. So, obviously we stayed on top of it, don't want to give an explosive play, but some of them plays are just tough. They're tough on some of the DBs. So I think just fixing that, and then at the end of the day, I think even though we did give us some explosives, we did a great job in the red zone, and especially after giving up explosives, like getting them turnovers, because at the end of the day, give us an inch, we defend it. So that's one of those sayings, and I think we did that.
How do you think that, you yourself, this is a 2-part question. How do you think you could get ready or help the defense get ready, like you said, to come out and start faster, right? And then also tell people a little bit about what you guys talk about on the field. Maybe they have a drive going. Is there something that said like, hey, we got to step up, we got to make a play, like we got to go, let's knock the ball out? Like, how are you guys communicating that throughout the game?
Yeah, so for the first question, I think so. As far as my fault, I just spaced. I was thinking about your second question. Can you repeat your question for me?
No. Hey. The first question is, how do you feel that you can get to start faster on defense?
Of course. So I think that's something that I sometimes get frustrated with, and even sometimes myself, where there be games or practices where I'm like, there's either a lack of motivation, I don't know what it is, but I think I get frustrated because there should be nothing that we need to do to go out there and want to play. That's where I kind of find myself. But also, I don't know if it's either preparing better, getting more sleep, or as far as more motivation. I don't know what it is, because I don't feel like it's a lack of motivation. That's what's always so hard. I try to figure out what it is. As far as, I think the biggest thing is getting off the field. Like an explosive play, the first play of the game, that hurts. That's real deflates the defense. So that first explosive run right off the rip, that's hard. I mean, I'm glad we got that stop, but we need to stop it there, stop the bleeding. So I think just finding a way to stop the bleeding first and get off the field, start the game with a 3 and out would definitely help us. And then as far as when we do see an explosive play, I think we have great leadership on our defense. So, Jack speaks of JT, Cody, me, Caleb, all the players always find a way. Jordan actually was speaking up a lot this game as well. So, players stepping up and being leaders out there, that really helps get the defense going. And then when you see a big play like you see Caleb's TFL and you see all the emotion it has, that gets the defense going. So I think playing with a lot of emotion and passion definitely gets the defense going.
Absolutely. Is there a talk about that? Like when they're getting in the middle of drives and have had some stuff going, I mean, the emotional element, like pulling guys together, is that something that's actively kind of discussed on the field? Because they had 3 good drives, but 0 points out of it. Obviously, the turnover on downs and the 4th and 1, then you guys forced 2, you and Jordan. Is that something that kind of is talked about? And then lining up on that 4th and 1, leave with this. Like, have you ever seen, my man Cody just jump straight up over the pile? Like, what was being said on the sideline after that?
Yeah, so I'll start with Cody's play. First of all, I think Cody's play, that might have been one of the coolest plays I've witnessed since being a Buckeye. The way that he jumped up and just stoned him at the line, man, that was awesome. I think Cody's one of the players on our defense that goes unappreciated sometimes for, all he does being a captain, being a leader, making all the calls, making all the checks. So seeing him go out there and make that big play to start the game, man, that was exciting. And that was really cool to see.
Yeah, and I say that to you, and Bob and I are asking you these questions because I'll be real. It normally took me about 2 series to like kind of take what I learned on the film and what we prepared for the week to get into the rhythm of the game, right? The rhythm is going to get you, and you got to get in there a little bit to see what's going on. How long does that take, like, for you, Lathan, as you prepared? Because you are a student of the game, you're a veteran here. How long does it normally take you to kind of figure out what they're trying to do, how they're trying to scheme you? Because you're also communicating that, with your coaches on the sideline and then also the unit.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you said that. So I think the first 2 drives, always the hardest drive is the defense because for the people watching, the offense only has a script about 15 plays that the offense wants to start off as. And those are either they stay on that script. So it's hard to explain. So basically, they're going to run plays that they practice all week, 15 plays, and it's going to be a lot of motions, a lot of shifts to kind of see what our defense is doing to get a tell on what we're doing. But once you get past them 10, 15 plays, then you kind of get a flavor of the game. You kind of get an idea of how they're going to scheme us up, what their scheme is for the week. So I think once you get past that first drive, second drive, now you have an idea of how the offense is going to attack our defense. So, once you get past those first drives, then you really get a good feel for the game. And you guys can make your corrections and fix the problems that are seen and how to, play better for the rest of the game.
You talked about guys making plays, like everybody getting emotional and using that emotion positively. Is that something that's collectively talked about? And that was one of the things that, for a while here, and I was a very emotional player. Schleggs was. A lot of the guys that we played defense with, like that was a big thing. I mean, is that the outward displays? I know everybody's a little bit different. Like, I forget who it was. Maybe it was Mitch Melton called Corey the Cobot because he doesn't really, he's processing everything and he's very structured. But I mean, is that something you guys have talked about to show more emotion? I know that I've kind of brought up with some of you to because that everybody feeds off of that.
But like you said, there's certain players that like to show emotion and there's certain players that don't. So, for the players that, they go and make a play and they're all busy, like Tommy didn't show very much emotion.
Exactly.
So players like that, hey, I'll let Tommy do his thing. But, but what's exciting is when them players that don't show a lot of emotion do show emotion, that gets the team going. So I think there's a little pull and tilt to that. But I think always showing emotion after a big play and showing emotion with the teammates, that gets the defense going. When the sideline's showing a lot of emotion, it gets the team going. So just trying to get as much emotion as we can, but just don't let emotion play with us because you've seen from games across the country and our games is you might get a little emotional to where, you hit a dude after the play or you throw a punch and that throws a flag. So you want to play a great emotion, but don't let emotion cause a flag or hurt the team.
Absolutely. All right. We're going to put a little pin in it. We got a 9-on-7 style week coming up. We'll let everybody know what that means after this.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the
They're off in the Kentucky Derby as Authentic takes them around the far turn. Tis the Laws making his move now, and they're into the stretch. These two stride for stride. Authentic. She has the ball. Here's the wire. Authentic has won the Kentucky Derby.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
All right, back here with Buckeye safety Lathan Ransom, played a great game, punched a fumble out, had a number of tackles, one of the real leaders on this defense. Michigan State liked to try to run the ball. They wanted to run it, set up some play action passes, take shots ultimately down the field. Rushed it 25 times, 47 yards, under 2 yards per carry average, Lathan. So a huge win there. I said it's a 9-on-7 week. Playing the Iowa Hawkeyes, they're not a team that likes to air it out a lot. So what does this week look like in practice as far as trying to stop their 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, 13 maybe with 3? Like, they do a lot of different stuff, and they like to pound the rock.
Yeah, so going in, I'm expecting a real physical week of practice. So got to get my mind and body right for that. But like you said, I think this is a week that we can take the challenge and hit it head on to stop the run, man. So I think that's something that, people have tried to said multiple things about our defense, especially against the run. So I think going to this game with a huge chip on our shoulder, man, and be excited to embrace the challenge, especially against, Iowa's going to come in. They're well-coached, very physical team. And, I think it's going to be a really exciting game.
Yeah, that's hard for me to believe that people are talking trash about our run defense when you give up 47 yards and you didn't allow now, again, I understand who we're playing. I think our run defense is going to be just fine. I want to ask you this, and I know I'm going back to the other game, but you got a guy like Mitch Melton, Big Mitch, right? Larry Hoover. That's what I used to say in the weight room to him. And you got him, and my guy goes out there and gets a sack and a half. How juiced up are you for that guy, right?
Yeah, so it's funny. Mitch and Cody were my roommates when I first got here. So those dudes I hold dear to my heart. I'm two of their biggest fans. So I always say when Mitch's on the field, it's always production. No matter what time he gets the game, he produces every time he gets on the field. So to see him go out there, and it's not a surprise because it travels over from practice and from camp, and you always see when Mitch is on the field, he has a great nose for the ball and a knack for the ball. So to see out there go up, and he's also one of them dudes that shows a lot of emotion after making plays. So, I mean, it gets me juiced up, and it gets the team juiced up seeing out there him and seeing him play well.
Well, it's interesting to stay on that point, Lathan. I mean, you got on the field early as a freshman, played right away. You suffered, an injury early on in your career. You battled back, but playing a lot worse. Cody, it took a while for him to get on the field. He's behind a couple of really good players. Mitch battled a number of injuries before finding his way ultimately onto the field. And I'm sure you're cheering for those guys the whole way. I mean, what was that like being around them when you've had some success? You also had some injuries, but watching them on their journey, which, let's be honest, like nobody scripts it out how their journey has went.
Actually saying that and putting all of our stories next to each other, I'm like, something was wrong with our apartment room or something. All the adversity that we had to face, man. But I think that's why I hold their stories and I'm the biggest fan because I've seen what they've been through. I've seen the hard days and I've seen the struggle. I've seen the tears that some of them dudes have been through. And being a fan looking from the outside in, whether not even speaking about them specifically, but whether a player is doing good or doing bad, you never know what they're going through off the field. So that's why it's always so hard to be a fan and judge them because I've seen what Cody, the work he's put in, what he's gone through. I've seen what Mitch, the work he's put in, what he's gone through. And just to see how they're coming out now, making plays now, man, it gets me emotional sometimes because I've also been there where you don't know how it's going to end. You don't know when it's going to get good again because there's been long days here. So, man, I'm nothing but proud and have nothing but great things to say about Mitch and Cody for how they've attacked this journey because it hasn't been an easy one for both of them. And I think they're both better men and better players because of it.
Hey, when they go out and they give like the Players of the Game award on Sundays, you had a guy, and I got to work with him a little bit, old David Adolph, right? So David, walk-on guy, earned a scholarship this last offseason, and here he is versus Michigan State, first Big Ten game on the road, and gets the special teams player of the game. Just tell people about, how you guys are all witnessing all these guys, right? And again, everybody's experience is different. Now this guy earns a scholarship along with old Iki, right there out there playing special teams. Just how fun that is, and what do the coaches say when they give them that type of award?
Yeah, it's awesome. First of all, being a player of the game, man, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal around Ohio State. So for Adolph to go out there, man, and it just shows how hard he's worked. You got to work with him, how hard he works in the training room, on the field, in the film room, asking questions in the special teams meeting, going out there and doing his job at a high level. It's great to see, man, and it's exciting because, when you start getting a player of the game and stuff, that stuff starts racking up. So I'm excited to see what he does later in this season to continue to make plays.
We'll talk a little bit about Iowa and their running game. They also have really talented tight ends, Luke Lachey being one of them, being a safety in the middle of the field. Like how does that change your great game preparation when you know that they've got not only a pretty good running game and that's how they're going to do it, but most of their passing game is centered around their tight end production?
Yeah, I think as a safety, me, Caleb, Malik, Jalen, the rest of the guys, we're excited for that opportunity, man. Whenever your number gets called to face a matchup like a great running back, great tight ends, great quarterback, great receivers, man, you come to Ohio State for those games, for those matchups. So we're excited to get on the film, scout them up, see what they're going to do, man, and go out there and make plays when your number's called.
Yeah, how important is that this week? Because you're going to have great communication because it's going to be in Ohio Stadium. It's going to be loud, right? You're going to have run fits. Everybody's going to have to be communicating. You're probably going to see a lot of that 3-linebacker set that we saw versus Michigan State. Just walk everybody through what that communication looks like, because 110,000 people, you want them to be loud on purpose, but you still got to be able to go out there and communicate because the run fits is paramount playing a team like Iowa.
Yeah, I think like you hit it on the dot, communication is going to be got to be at extremely high level because, like you said, the explosive plays that you've seen in the past games, they've been because of maybe one fit or maybe one misfit. And Iowa takes advantage of that, just seeing from the film this morning. If you fit one of their runs wrong, one of their schemes wrong, it could lead to an explosive play. So I think all of us being on the same page, communicating at a high level, fitting the run, crack replacing, because they're going to try to get the corners involved in the run fits and making tackles, because I also think we've given up explosive plays from missed open field tackles. So I think it's a big week for a big tackling week, really set the tone, and, defense wins games. So I'm excited to go out there and play great defense.
Absolutely. Lathan, well, we appreciate it, sir. You've spent too much time with us already. I know you got a busy schedule. Big week, big home game, 3:30 CBS, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Excited to see you go out there, see if you can cause some more turnovers, sir. All right, thank you. That's Lathan Ransom, Buckeyes safety, doing such a great job for us. So happy he can join us each and every week on Mondays. Doing a great job out there too, Schlags. Like his punch outs, like it's a big deal. And now you see it, it's infectious. Turnovers come in bunches. Had a couple early on. It's been a little bit of a drought. And then boom, you get 3 more. And you'll love to see that. Him punching out, Jordan stripping, and then obviously Denzel coming up with the interception. So big part of that, the defensive back room, getting that done. All right, coming up, Schlags, we got some headlines here. We got some players of the game. We're going to get to talk about offensive, defensive, special teams. Maybe you might even have a player of the game or two that you might want to get outside of this, someone that maybe caught your eye, Schlags. So think about that a little bit as well. And Seth McLaughlin, the Ohio State center, pretty smart dude, done a lot of things in college. We'll get to all that here next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Bobby Carpenter. I want to give a huge thank you and a shout out to Affinity Whole Health, the leaders in the testosterone replacement industry. I've been on a testosterone replacement program for a few years right now, and I've got to tell you, it's been an absolute game changer. Affinity Whole Health has allowed me to be the best version of myself, both mentally and physically. I loved how easy it was to get started. I booked my free consultation, met with my prescriber, checked my numbers, and Affinity Whole Health designed a program that was customized to fit my needs. So I'm telling you guys, if you have low energy, you want to get rid of that spare tire around the waist or take it to the next level in the bedroom, Affinity Whole Health is the place to get started. So don't wait any longer. 5 minutes of your time, book your free consultation. You're going to love the way you feel. Well, Shaggy, I think we're going to get into our headlines here, brought to you by Affinity Whole Health. Our friends over at Affinity Whole Health do such a great job. They offer personalized treatment plans to help you feel better, whether you're struggling with weight loss, low energy, muscle loss, poor sleep. They can help you with all of it. They can offer customized plans with expert guidance to safely reach your health goals. They've got Ohio covered. They're in Columbus. They're in Cleveland. They're out in Indy. They're up in Chicago. AffinityWholeHealth.com. Go check them out to set up your free consult today. That's AffinityWholeHealth.com. All right, so we got some players of the game. We'll start off offensive player of the game. So we can toss that up there. Pat, we can throw up this. Jeremiah Smith, freshman, him and Ryan Williams, who's down at Alabama, probably two of the best receivers in all of college football. They're both freshmen. His stats, his numbers were impressive, but it's not even just the numbers, Schlegs. It's the plays on the field you see from Jeremiah Smith and what he's able to do. He had a rushing touchdown on the reverse. He had 6 catches, 83 yards, another touchdown there, doing a tremendous job. He's blocking. He gets involved in all of it. Any more superlatives you want to add?
No, I just like the fact that, when he talks about 50-50 balls, he's like, there's no 50-50 balls with me. I've seen it in practice, and I should ask Lathan about that. But it's more of the mindset that just throw it up, right? And Devin made a great throw to him for the touchdown, but even the one on the sideline, when you have a guy grabbing your face mask and you're able to come down with a one-handed catch, that stuff just doesn't happen. Like, they work on those things. And then that goes with competitive excellence. So it just only makes your defensive backs better. But I just love his mentality. He's very, very humble. Ryan talked about that. Like, he just wants to improve. He talks about this, the preparation with Coach Hart and his unit. That's why he's able to step up and make these kind of plays. But it just doesn't happen, guys. It's consistent work, and consistent work works.
Well, it's proof that the work works, Legs. Let's remove Jeremiah Smith from the equation. Do you have another? Is there an offensive guy that caught your eye? Maybe someone that didn't make the biggest plays in the world, but you thought played a pretty spectacular game in their own right.
Well, I thought Trevion, I really like Seth in the way that he's attacking. Like, Seth's not like a big physical guy. He's a cerebral guy. He's up for the academic. Yeah, he's up for the award for like the most mentally gifted athlete in the world. Most mentally
gifted. That you mean the Scholar Athlete Award? Is that what you're trying to? He is up for the William V. Campbell Trophy, which is the premier Scholar Athlete Award. Now,
super scholarly.
But again, he's a smart dude. I believe Schlegs, he graduated. Well, you know what? Let's just throw that up there too. If you're going to talk about him, Schlegs, we'll throw up there the William V. Campbell Trophy. Give him his flowers. I believe he graduated his undergrad at Alabama in 2.5 years. I think he graduated already from Bama with a master's. And then I think he's working on another master's here at Ohio State. Like, he's pretty impressive, Schlegs, to say the least.
Well, it's impressive. I love the way that he's finishing blocks. I love the way that he's getting to the second level. And again, when you have somebody like that set in the front, calling out the protection or calling out who's the mic, like, you want somebody like that. He was a lot like Nick was that type of guy. The Apex Corey Linsley was that type of guy. But again, just what he's doing from the front, along with that offense line, having Donnie next to you, I just think it bodes well, especially for that right guard position. Again, you had some interchanging with Tegra and Hintzman and Austin in that position. He just helps sets the entire offensive line. But I just like how, though he's so cerebral, right, and an intellect in his own right, like, he's also getting after people. So he'd be one that I was looking at and I'm proud of.
And people, when he came here, people kind of besmirched, like, I just see the snaps and stuff at Bama, the different things that are going on. I'm like, listen, this guy's really good. We're getting a chance to now see how good Seth McLaughlin is, doing a great job up there, and not like the physically most imposing guy, but really smart, gets everything set and gets on his blocks and gets to them. All right, defensive player of the game. So we sit here and look at this. Led the team with 6 tackles, 3 solo, 1 TFL. And so he's about one of the best. I don't know how you would describe it, saying his angles and footwork are always supreme. Yeah. And he does a great job, and that's Caleb Downs. His ability to come down in the box, he's never out of position, always like wide base, feet ready to go, always ready to strike like a cobra head, Schlegs, just ready to rock. And we play with some darn good safeties, and Caleb Downs is about as good as anyone I've seen back there.
Yeah, he's the heat-seeking missile. And I just love the fact that, you can tell that he studies a lot of film. Lathan alluded to that. That room is very well prepared, but he just reads and reacts. And then when he puts his foot in the ground, it's 100 miles an hour, and he plays that way. And that's what you want to see when you see a screen that could potentially go the distance, and then boom, I come up and make an open field tackle like that in the backfield with emotion. That gets everybody riled up. I mean, 6 tackles, 3 solos, 1 TFL. It set the tone. They didn't have like an abundance of plays, Bob, to be able to go through. I mean, they had 52 plays the entire game. Ohio State won the time possession, I think like 35.5 to whatever.
Yeah, almost 36.
Guys, I mean, like they didn't have a ton of plays to get a ton of production defensively, but part of that is plays that Caleb Downs makes. And that's the value that he adds, especially, and you're going to see it this week in run support against Iowa and being able to cover tight ends. Like you're going to see a whole lot of Lathan, Ransom, and Caleb Downs and their impact on this game coming up.
And Caleb's brother had a heck of a game. He plays wide receiver for the Colts. And I don't know if you watched any of that against the Steelers.
Oh, yeah.
Seemed like every third down in the third and fourth quarter, they were going to him. He was converting it. So kudos to him as well. And then obviously Schleg's the special teams player of the game. David Adolph, you touched on him, addressed him. Super excited to see him ultimately up there and what he was able to bring to the table. You coached the guy, Schlegs. You know all about him. Let's hear why he's so great.
Oh, no, I mean, first off, David could probably play anywhere that he wanted to at another college, but he chose to be a Buckeye. He's worked his way through it. You see him going really hard in drills. Might have been one of the guys that was a little resistant to old Papa Schleg sometimes in the weight room. Right?
Oh,
like,
really?
What do you actually do? No. But he always did it. He always did. He had a good attitude. He always smiled. I enjoyed our conversations.
Tell him, like, worst case, whatever I'm telling you to do, it's going to make you jacked and going to help you pick up picks. Like, that's the baseline for what it is.
Hey, listen. My coaching styles knows no ends, right? I can adapt to any guy. And I'll just say this, like, he just embraces it and he works. He works extremely hard. When you watch the drills, I wish everybody out there got to go out and just watch some of the drills that Brian Hartline puts these guys through and the intensity of which you got to do them right, and how he's coaching every single one. And they got a bunch of guys like this that are unsung in there, but David just does a great job of doing it. And now he's adding value on special teams, and everybody recognizes that. It's one of those things. And guys, I'm just going to give you a heads up too. Part of why you love the culture and what Ryan Day has done, when you got a couple of scholarships out there that you have, some teams will want to say, let's go to the portal and get those. No, Ohio State rewards the ones that they got in the building, and he was definitely deserving of it. And he's one of those guys that end up getting a scholarship, kept it in-house. That's why everybody's paying attention. It's part of the brotherhood. Good for him.
All right. Put a little pin in that. We've got tailgate talk from Real Truck coming up next. Schlegs, we're going to answer our questions. There's a couple wild ones that have already been fired away. We may have to save those tomorrow when we got a little bit more time. We got some good questions coming up for you next here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the
building a home for the people who are worth it. Stepping out, throwing in a line, and dropping the tailgate for a picnic. And finding far-off campsites with the people you're closest to. Upgrade your truck, Jeep, or Bronco with over 1 million parts and accessories. And bring your truck to life. Real Truck.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
All right, Schlegs, we got a couple of great questions.
I love questions.
One we're going to save for tomorrow because it's one that you got to let breathe a little bit. It involves AJ Hawk dressing like a ninja and maybe some. Would you take a drink from someone at a Diddy party unknown to you? So there's a lot in there non-football related. There is one today, though, that I think it's fairly pertinent. Come off that game. Do you think, as we throw this up here from Coco Brook, I like this, is Iowa a trap game with Oregon coming the following week?
The answer is no. And I'd say this, I think because you have a veteran team like this, they know that they got to go out week in and week out and handle their business, because also perception is reality. And you know what Iowa's going to do. They've had some games where offensively, like, oh, what happened? 40 points. And what happened? 19. Like, what are we doing? Can't throw the football. And then you go and score another game in the 30s, right? So they're kind of up and down, but we know their identity, and that's going to be to run the football. They're not going to be overlooked. I think because of the maturity of this team, they know that every game matters, and perception of how they play in every game matters overall.
Well, it would have been nice if Iowa would have been able to beat Iowa State and close that game out. It would have been a ranked on ranked matchup, most likely. That would have had the attention of it, but it's a 3:30 game. It's a CBS game. I think everybody understands the gravity of it and how big of a moment this is. And they've done a good job, Schlegs, of kind of isolating everything. I don't think you overlook a team like Iowa, because this is a team, they've got NFL players. They've been in Big Ten championships. It's at home. It's the 3:30. Maybe it was a noon start, I could see where it might be a little slow, maybe a little sluggish. It doesn't seem to have that feel to me as I think about it. But maybe that's just me. I mean, looking at this is kind of like the first I had this circled at the beginning of the season, Schlegs, is kind of the first real test, because I didn't think Michigan State would be as good as they are. Now they've proven to be better, and Jonathan Smith has them playing better, I think, quicker than most people anticipated. But you knew what Iowa was going to be. And especially for the offense, Schlegs, I think they're looking at this. This is a great test for them, because despite the fact that Iowa offensively is kind of inept at times, and maybe they're not going to go out there and put up 450 yards and 42 points, Iowa's defense has been one of the best in the country. Now, they've lost some guys. Cooper DeJean left, and there's some other dudes that are gone. But they still have Higgins in the middle. They've got some really good linebackers, good safety play. And it's going to be a full day's work for this offense.
Yeah, I would say this too, Bob. Let's not also forget Ryan Day's record versus everybody in the Big Ten. He's now 40-3. We know the 3 losses are to Michigan.
Against everyone but Michigan.
Exactly. And so you remember back in the day, right? And again, the question said trap game. And that reminds me back to the Purdue loss. And that reminds me back to, I think it was an Iowa loss, right? That should not have occurred. And it was by a lot.
Never happened. Ryan has never lost games. He's not.
I'm telling you guys, like that. I just think he does a great job of living in the moment and living where your feet are, and that this is the most important game that you have, the one that's on the docket this week. Couple that with a very veteran team, also with questions about run defense on this last week, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder.
Absolutely. More with the Bobby Carpenter Show coming up next.
Well, how do they know I'm doing this? Did somebody leak this out?
It's social media.
Oh.
It's just that's the way social media works now.
I thought maybe you were just running that yep.
Welcome to Big Play, a sports media team that started back in 2014, and now we're not in a garage. Look at us, incorporating some of Cleveland's favorite sports personalities, bringing you fun and compelling content from downtown Cleveland. Coming to you live from the shores of Lake Erie and Burke Lakefront Airport, join Team Big Play for all the best sports talk in Ohio. Check us out on social media at Big Play, bringing you fun and compelling content from downtown Cleveland.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
All right, final segment of the program here. Thank you for tuning in today. Lathan Ransom, he was awesome. Looking like we're going to get Bill Bender tomorrow. As always, our guy AJ Hawk, I think, will be with us on Wednesday. Huge week, Iowa week, fun, physical football, Schlegs. It's the game that you always love to see. We'll be talking about it more all week long here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.